Well, she's real fine. It's 409. How do you like that, guys? Our 409th episode. I know it's corny, but I had to mix it in there. 3-Point Podcast presented by Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. For more details, follow the Wellness Center on Facebook. We're also brought to you by AZee Branding Agency, Blackstone's Public House, Great Lakes Apparel Company, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Mars Furniture and Mattress Barn, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Nichols Painting, the Shiawassee County Fair and ALS of Michigan. Our sponsor spotlight today, the Success Group Mortgages, servicing whether you're buying a new home, refinancing an existing mortgage. Pre-approval is your first step. Jim Woodworth and his staff can help you on this and any mortgage questions, serving Michigan, Florida, and Texas, as Jared knows, Colorado and California. More info at successgroupmortgage.com. Well, guys, I don't know what kind of catch up we have, but I do got something for you guys. I know, Jared, you'll really appreciate this. It's an O.J. Simpson comment. Mark Furman, the crooked racist detective in the O.J. case, just passed away of throat cancer. And you've heard the name before, but man, his testimony and his shenanigans in that whole case really turned it around and really got OJ the acquittal. Any thoughts on his passing?
How many, before we were talking about Michael Jackson a few weeks ago, how that's like the number one documentary we'd all want to watch. How many more OJ Simpson documentaries are we going to get before we get that Michael Jackson one? This guy will probably have a documentary in a year about his whole life and then his part of the trial. I'm not even kidding. It's the story that keeps on giving, and I guess you're just kind of the targeted audience because I didn't even know who this guy was or what had happened. So I don't know. Are you saying that this is a bad guy?
Oh yeah, he was a total bad guy, don't you think, Matt? I mean, the whole case revolved around his testimony, and the Dream Team lawyers caught this tape recording he had where he made many racist comments and just set him up for the trial to plant that doubt.
Well, and it just shows, like you said, the dream team of lawyers doing exactly what they do up there, because they tried to spin it like he's a racist, so he planted this stuff and he was trying to like pin it on OJ. So they spun it that way. Whether that's true or not, who knows? Like they were able to say, like, basically, this guy's racist. He was there the night of the murders. He was the first one there, right? Wasn't he the first?
And he's the one that supposedly found the glove behind the little place where Cato was staying. Right.
So whether he actually planted things or messed with the evidence or did any of that, nobody knows. But because they were able to say, he had a history too. He had a long history of just racist, things that he said and did in other situations. They were able to like put all this together. Jury was able to be like, yeah, there's, that seed of doubt was there. So yeah, he was basically the one that spun the whole thing, right?
Absolutely. That's all you need is reasonable doubt. They set it up perfect. So he is gone. Speaking
there definitely could be more documentaries, right? Who knows? Sure. There could be more stuff out there.
No, there will be. There will be. I don't understand it, but there will be. Not good, not should. It will happen.
Yeah. Well, back to your original comment, Jared. I mean, how long is it going to take for us to get the ultimate Michael Jackson bio documentary? I mean, we need it, don't we?
I'd be curious with that one, though, like if the family, because just knowing some of the family that didn't want to be involved in this recent movie, we kind of talked about that. I'm saying like a full, every detailed documentary of Michael Jackson's, story. I almost feel like that. I don't know if we'll ever get that, because there's probably some stuff that would completely twist the Michael Jackson aura, his whole story. So
it'd probably have to be an unauthorized biography type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which probably just wouldn't be that good, I would think. And they probably, I don't know, would they even be able to get the rights to like the music and stuff like that?
Yeah,
probably
not. That's the thing.
It's it's because of the family. I mean, if I'm remembering right, I'm pretty sure this is confirmed. Like Prince had like a 9-part documentary that supposedly is really good, but like the last stages of it, the family shut it down. So it's it's just once the family has the last say on these type of things, you're never going to get. I mean, even The Last Dance was basically propaganda toward Michael Jordan. I mean, it was awesome. We all loved it, but that went through because it painted Michael Jordan in this like godlike figure status. So unless somebody's going to do that with Michael Jackson or a Prince, it's not going to happen. So it's probably just not going to happen.
Yeah, because that's part of like the whole OJ thing, right? Because Nicole Brown and I'm blanking, Ron Goldman, hit their families want to basically show that OJ was guilty. So of course they want all of these. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for them, but I would assume they would be fine with all these documentaries to basically say OJ did this. Why are we not convicting this guy? Whereas to Jared's point, I don't know if Michael Jackson's family would want every detail of his life being out there. That would do insane numbers though if there was one of those. Man.
The sad reality of the OJ thing is, maybe it is like, let's paint OJ in this further light. Everybody knows he did it. It's these fans. Right. It's all they have left to grab some cash is to keep recycling this goddamn story and keep telling their side of the story, which I feel like we've heard like 8 different times. So although it's like maybe it seems like it's perfectly good in nature, to me on the outside looking in, this is a way for these people that were involved in something that happened 30 years ago to keep just like making money off of it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny too. I don't know how much more they really could add to that case, frankly. I mean, it was a fascinating situation, but I think ESPN did a couple of specials on OJ, the one of the events that happened on the day of the Bronco chase, and then the actual documentary on OJ himself. And then there was a mini series. I forget who produced that. That was also very well done.
We could probably make our own documentary from all the times we've talked about it on here. Probably a five-part series that we could run maybe like over July 4th break or something like that. Maybe.
Not a bad idea.
We got our own documentary here on our hands on that story. So,
well, it's something with it's just that we've talked about a lot in Entertainment Tonight. The true crime, almost like hysteria or whatever the word is. Did I say that right? Hysteria, whatever that word is. People love true crime basically, yes. And if you put out another OJ documentary and you kind of sell it as there's some new interviews or there's some new tapes, like think about every couple of years on Netflix, there's like a new Ted Bundy or a new new tapes or like new something that people then want to watch. Like down here, I know we talked about it on the podcast, Alex Murdaugh, the dude who allegedly still murdered his wife and son. He got he's going to go back to trial because they basically said that the jury was influenced, there was outside influence with the jury. So they're going to go back to trial, and he's in jail basically for life on other charges. So, I mean, it's not like he's ever going to get out, but he could face death penalty or some other thing. So I saw some people say now there's going to be more documentaries on him, and there's all these other shows and stuff already. And it's an obsession with true crime that's really just taken over. And if another OJ documentary comes out, I would probably watch.
It's an obsession with freakazoids, man. I don't really, I don't know. I guess that's one. I watch a lot of crap. That's one thing that just hasn't quite grabbed me is that whole genre of stuff. I don't know why. Maybe it freaks me out. But yeah, it's a bit jarring to our community or to our country how much people do love that stuff. And I mean, you think about back in the day, why there were so many, obviously in the 70s. I mean, it must have been I've thought about how easy it would be to pull off something like that in even just 50 years ago. If somebody could do it nowadays, man, it'd be just about impossible with forensics and everything. But man, no wonder it happened all the time in the 70s. There's no way to really prevent it.
Right.
Well, speaking of, now we're kind of going on a little tangent here. I retweeted it on our page. Who was it? See, now I should look it up. This kind of came out of nowhere. There was a guy, he's a super rich guy. He's a guy that owns the OJ Bronco. And I tagged you in it, Ted, and was like, look at this guy's, and he had John Wayne Gacy was the guy with the clown or whatever.
Right.
He had he has his clown suit. He has the OJ Bronco. He went through a whole list. This guy obviously was insanely rich, of course. Yeah, he had some Bundy stuff that kind of it's one thing to own some very historical, artifacts and, stuff like that. Maybe even sports memorabilia. I like to collect some. I mean, look at Ted's man cave. I mean, yeah, sports memorabilia is one thing, but I guess the OJ Bronco, that's pretty iconic in in America, but some of this other stuff, to your point, Jared, is a little you really want the clown suit that the serial killer wore, and you want some of this other stuff that seems a little
demented. Over the line. Even for me, that's over the line.
Right.
I was thinking, and this is a little bit of, and then we can talk about Pistons after this. We've talked a lot about Mike Tyson and obviously OJ Simpson, but more so this is more about Mike Tyson. And even Michael Jordan, we were just talking about The Last Dance. And I don't know if you guys saw, I'm sure you did, it's everywhere, but Conor McGregor is back.
Yeah.
He's going to be fighting on July 11th. And I was just thinking, I mean, obviously you guys aren't maybe the biggest UFC fans, but I look back on somebody like a Mike Tyson, and I go, man, I really wish I could have watched that guy, been with my buddies, watching that in the basement live as he was in his prime. And then I'm thinking, like, I got to watch that with Conor McGregor. I mean, I still remember where I was when he fought Khabib, and I was at Western with my buddies at their dorm room, and we stayed up till 2 a.m. watching the post-fight press conferences and everything that was coming out after that fight. And I'm just thinking, I mean, you guys feel like you almost kind of missed the boat on this guy. I mean, this guy has that supernova star power that in my lifetime, outside of maybe LeBron, it's been Conor McGregor, LeBron, Tiger Woods. I don't know if there's really anyone else who's reached that level of just being cooler than like anything I've ever seen. He was that guy for 4 or 5 years. And I'm just glad he's back. And does that move the needle at all for you, him being back? And then do you ever think about that? Man, maybe I am that guy that kind of missed the prime of this guy while it happened.
I mean, I definitely watched all of his fights. I've never been, diehard UFC fan, but McGregor was one that a lot of times I was at work. So I'd watch all the McGregor fights at work. But yeah, when I saw he was back, I was excited to see. You just hope he's not washed, because it's been 5 years since he fought and he busted his leg in that last fight. So you hope he's not a shell of himself when he goes out there. But I get your point, because while he rubs some people the wrong way at his press conferences and like the way he carries himself, he's had some legal trouble too or whatever. So some people don't like rooting for him in that sense. He is a bigger than life type of superstar in that sport, and really overall kind of on a Tiger Woods type of level. So yeah, to your point, that I mean, he's probably one of those in your generation that's up there with those guys.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I don't feel like I missed the boat. I've seen enough of McGregor and enough of his antics and then the replays of the fight. I didn't feel obligated or a must to get the pay-per-view. But your comparison is pretty good, because it was must-see TV. Tyson was on, I was going to say free TV, but he was on HBO. Right. Which we had, and then we did exactly what you talked about. Every time he fought, we got a bunch of guys together and watched the fight. And I've said it here before, the Buster Douglas thing was one of those memorable sporting events that I'll never forget. I just jumping off the couch going, oh my God, Tyson's knocked out. It was one thing to watch.
Yeah, there's nothing like fighting, and to me, it's, man, I mean, my lifetime. I still remember we watched the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather. For some reason, you wanted to watch that. Right. Boxing sucks, man. The more I think about it, and I feel bad that's where you jumped in and said I got to watch, because that was a sham of an event. I mean, it probably was the best of these Floyd Mayweather type things as of late, but. I'm just glad that July 11th, everyone's going to be able to watch it for free. He's going to be back, and I think it's going to be must watch. I think the UFC is on a good run right now. Obviously, maybe a lot of our listeners maybe don't care, but I really do think it is a budding, emerging sport up there with, the MLB, NBA, and NFL.
Right.
But yeah, is the last thought on that is just, man, boxing. There is no future in boxing. It's a meaningless sport. The more and more I was thinking about it is, imagine if basketball, if it was basically just the thing of the whole sport was just like a 3-point contest, who can shoot it the best. That's kind of what boxing is when you think about it. Like, if somebody's a great boxer and then you throw them in a UFC ring, they look like a clown. Like it kind of is. Why was boxing ever the thing? It almost makes you wonder. It's kind of amazing how UFC has kind of sanctioned and made this about as safe as it can be, a sport like mixed martial arts and UFC. So I don't know. I'm just appreciative, and it was an awesome announcement. I can't believe that he's actually back. Now I'll believe it when he actually walks into the octagon,
right,
and is making the walk and is ready to go against Max Holloway, because he's had a couple fights announced since he hasn't fought again, but. From my understanding, he's as clean as he's ever been. He's been drug tested 13 times, more than any other fighter in the UFC drug testing pool. So he's clean. And he had a press or an announcement like, he's found God or whatever, this whole thing. So I think maybe he's as ready to fight as he's been in a long, long time. So I don't know. I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah.
That's definitely a generational thing, right, Ted? Because I'm not going to act like I'm some like big boxing historian, but I remember peak Mike Tyson and being excited to watch those fights. And I remember hearing all the stories about the legendary fights in the 70s and 80s and how big boxing was. It was because it was art. It was like an art form, right? I mean, it was when you watched Muhammad Ali and some of these other guys box, it was just amazing to see. My counterpoint would be, yes, some of those great McGregor fights and some of these other guys, there's some great UFC fights, but then you do also get the Ronda Rousey this past weekend where it ends in 17 seconds and she basically just flops onto her opponent in armbar and it's done in 17 seconds. So while you can rail on boxing all you want, not every UFC fight is like this incredible event, 3-4 rounds of bloodbath,
That was a mega. We might as well talk about that real quick.
Let's talk about it. That was in my note.
God, that was a mega sham. There's no other way to put that. I watched that whole card. Let's just start with the undercard. Nate Diaz actually was kind of the Buster Douglas to Conor McGregor back in the day. He beat him. It's kind of sad to see these guys so think about this. Junior Dos Santos. I wish I knew who he fought, but at one point when Junior Dos Santos was the heavyweight champion of the UFC, this guy was the worst heavyweight on the roster. Then you fast forward like 13 years and Junior Dos Santos is 42 years old. And it literally looks like his brain's like not operating and he can hardly move. Like he gets embarrassed by a guy who at one point was not even close to his level. It just shows you that somebody had a tweet that said basically like Father Time is undefeated. It's pretty insane to see. Then Nate Diaz, I don't understand why he's still fighting. I mean, my God, he's literally he never really could talk that well. Now it seems like he's operating about half brain power. And apparently he has so much scar tissue on his face that like it's impossible for him not to just gush blood like every time he fights now. And I'm hearing reports that he literally crapped his pants during this fight. And this whole MVP promotions, I think it's a decent idea. To me, it's like, okay, you have the number one streaming platform, Netflix. Like eyes are going to be on this no matter what it is. You have Jake Paul, who has been kind of dull lately. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe it's this new Zen lifestyle, but he's kind of lost a little bit of the flair I think he's had in the past. But you have a big name promoter behind it. And then you have no Saudi money attached. That's apparently this promotion is going to pay fighters way more than they're making the UFC. So to me, like on paper, it's like this could be something. But my God, then you hear after the whole entire thing, their big future plans are to have Nate Diaz fight again and Gina Carano, who Ronda Rousey tapped in 15 seconds, fight again. So I'm like, okay, this promotion is doomed.
Right.
But as for the Ronda Rousey fight, my God, that was just embarrassing. Imagine if you bought a ticket to that. That was Gina Carano made $1 million off of that. Ronda Rousey $2 million. And Ronda Rousey's up there with Conor McGregor in her prime. She was must watch. She was awesome. Yep. What a joke that was. That was a rigged, basically might as well have been scripted fight. Let's get in here. Let's play dress up one more time. Walk into the octagon, have the crowd go crazy, have the announcer call our names, and I'm going to tap you in the first 15 seconds. Not a single strike is going to be landed. And my brother said it best. They hugged longer than they fought. They literally hugged longer post-fight than the actual fight was. I think about this. Man, I don't know if you watched Entourage. There was a scene where Turtle fought Ronda Rousey, and Turtle lasted longer with Ronda Rousey. And think about that. They're trying to make Turtle look like a complete idiot in that scene. And he lasted longer than Gina Carano, MMA legend, who's only had 9 UFC fights under her belt. It doesn't even make sense. The last thing I'll say, Carano had to lose 100 pounds to even make this fight happen, which is okay, yeah, that's impressive. What does your training camp look like? Basically, your training camp is let's get you in shape. Like, whereas Ronda Rousey is, sharpening iron in her camp, you're literally just running laps in a sweatsuit and dieting. Like, it just was a joke, and I felt ripped off. It had some serious hype going into it, but you just feel like you got bamboozled after the fact for spending my whole night watching that whole promotion. It was a joke.
Did you watch any of it, Ted?
Yeah, I watched the entire fight. I didn't watch all the preview stuff. No, I didn't watch it live. So thank God I didn't. But
you watched the entire fight, so it took you 20 seconds to watch.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. You caught the sarcasm. It was a joke, man. I mean, they didn't even pretend like when Tyson and Paul went at it. They pretended to fight for a while. This was a complete sham.
Yeah. Yeah, so as many kind of rigged fights that there are in boxing, I mean, it can happen in UFC also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just hope that when guys like McGregor come back, same thoughts on Diaz. you know, he's probably still just chasing some money, especially, you know, get a couple more fights in, make a few more million, get, you know, then kind of ride off to the sunset. But I know some people still, like Ted, you have said it, UFC rubs people the wrong way with how brutal it is sometimes in that octagon. So I don't know if it'll ever become as mainstream as boxing was, but maybe.
But it seems like it's replaced boxing, though. You know, I mean, let's face it. Boxing, the heyday of boxing is over. UFC's taken over.
Yeah, I mean, Dana White has, you know, saw an opportunity, and obviously way back when bought it for, I don't even know, a couple million. I think he bought the UFC for, and now it's $1 billion thing. And that's the big thing is they're bitching about fight promotion. And obviously, like, you know, MMA, UFC is like the NFL, and this MVP Productions is like the Arena Football League. So it's like you can't draw comparisons. That was such a joke and embarrassing that would be almost what I would call it, is that was like Arena Football League compared to the NFL. So it is an awesome sport. To me, it's like, get in now. I've been trying to tell you guys. It seems like that is a big generational thing. Like Matt said, my dad hates the UFC. You know, this is blood fight. This is like gladiator. Why is it really that much different than boxing? I don't really see how it's. I mean, a lot of the worst result in a UFC fight is a knockout. Those happen in boxing too. I don't understand why we act like it's, you know, so different, I guess.
Well, the biggest difference is in boxing is just fighting with two fists with padded gloves. And UFC, yeah, you got the little padded glove, but you're kicking and you're elbowing, and knees. You know, it's definitely more vicious.
I would say too, one big thing I've seen people point out, and then maybe we could move on to the Pistons, but boxing, you knock someone down, they're down, you go to your corner. Right. UFC, you knock someone down and you see someone rush in and start doing the bam, bam, bam on top of their head when they're already down for the count. I've seen people say they don't like seeing that. So
it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's I get it, I guess. Maybe that's just my life where I grew up playing, you know, I don't know, Call of Duty since I was like 6 years old, where I never thought it was weird. I never have had that reaction. Like, we all know that reaction to an injury, like an NFL, like somebody, you know, a Nick Chubb like snaps his leg, like like. It's pretty rare that I have that in a UFC fight, and maybe that's just my demented brain. Maybe that's where I've replaced the murder mysteries with just whatever this is.
Yeah, well, you grew up in the UFC fight with your brothers beating up on you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not quite as vicious, man. That's for sure. Not nearly as tough. That is what's kind of amazing, man. Like, you watch Nate Diaz, you can't knock him out. You got to respect it. Like, that fight got called off because he couldn't stop bleeding. And maybe because he crapped his pants as well. But like, it's kind of insane to see how tough these guys really are, man. It's you got to respect it. You just can't get knocked out.
Right. All right. Well, that gets us up to date on things. A little bit of sports to start it off here, and we'll take a little break, come back, and put a bow on the Pistons basketball season right after this. All right, guys. I think we'll have some comments on the Pistons season and the Pistons ending of the season, but game 7, 125-94, losing to the Cavs at home. Just a complete disgusting embarrassment. Thoughts?
Who's more disappointing right now, Tigers or the Pistons? Real quick.
Pistons, I mean, at least right now.
Well, I'd almost go Tigers, just because the Pistons, at least you feel like, while it was disappointing seeing that incredibly awful game 7, they still have something to build on. You still feel like they're building on something. I just don't know what the Tigers are building on right now. The Tigers are essentially the worst team in MLB. But as far as the Pistons, that game 7 was pretty disappointing to see, because it felt like after going down 3-2, you know, they went to Cleveland, they won game 6, and it felt like, all right, we got back to Detroit. They'll figure out a way to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then maybe, you know, they beat the Knicks 3 times in the regular season. Maybe they figure out a way to get to the finals, and this is where they get over the hump. And from the jump, I mean, we've watched enough sports, the 3 of us. I don't know if you guys had the same feeling. Sometimes you can watch a game and you just know from the beginning that your team doesn't have it. Like, yeah, you know, the NBA, you always hear, like, the NBA nowadays, teams will go down 15-20 and they'll storm back and make a run. Teams always come back in the NBA. In that game, I was at work for the first half, or the first like 2.5 quarters. I was just saying to people, like, they're not coming back. You could just tell. Like, Cade didn't have it. The role players, Ted's favorite Piston, Tobias Harris, fell off the map those last 3 games. Dennis Jenkins, fell back down to earth too. Like the role players just weren't there. Whatever happened with Duncan Robinson, his back was hurt. He kind of wasn't the same. So it was just like the role players weren't there. Cade was off. They're not coming back in this game. And it also just looked like an effort thing. Everything, Ted, you texted it. Donovan Mitchell was locked in because really James Harden didn't have a good game. It was Donovan Mitchell just penetrating, and the big guys, Mobley and Allen, played great down low. I don't know if it was they're gassed because they played 7 games in the first round and now another 7-game series, but it was just disappointing to see a game 7 at home, you come out that flat. And I think this, Jared, you said it all the way back at the beginning of the playoffs, something your dad said, that they were a great regular season team. I think this playoff run, while, fun, they made, played some good basketball. We watched some good games. I think it just really showed that, all right, you're like almost there, but clearly you're not a championship team. They need to make a trade or two, whether that's Duren, whether that's trading a bunch of picks and trying to get someone. I think I texted it to you guys. I think Devin Booker would be That'd perfect be fit.
It would be.
Yeah, because he has to play point guard in Phoenix, and he's not really a point guard. He could play off the ball in Detroit. It'd be another scorer for Cade. But yeah, I think overall it's something to build on. But it was disappointing to see them just be that flat in game 7.
As Alfred once said to Batman, I mean, why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. That is what you hope this happens with this Pistons team. It was one team was, as Jarrett Allen said a few years ago, the lights were brighter than I expected. That was a team that was young, and especially Cade didn't even attempt a field goal in the fourth quarter. Didn't even make a field goal in the second half, I believe.
Yeah.
That was the difference between Donovan Mitchell, who's been through a zillion wars in the playoffs, and Cade Cunningham, who, if it wasn't for the Magic's entire offense falling apart with one guy going down, like we wouldn't even be in this situation, and we would have, faltered in game 6 against the Magic anyway. Mitchell, what an impressive display. I mean, he was only averaging a couple assists per game heading into game 7, and then it just seemed like something clicked where he's like, let me just drive and dish, and Jarrett Allen's going to eat all game. He was dialed in. And for the Pistons, it's disappointing. You wonder if they have to really tear everything down. I don't know. The AZee Thompson debate, it's become a national thing where people are like, you got to trade this guy. He can't shoot. He can't do this. To me, it's let's find a 5 who can shoot. And AZee Thompson's the best rim protector we have. Isaiah Stewart was impossible to play. Jalen Duren was terrible. Paul Reed, he had one good game. The fact that Paul Reed's even on the floor was pretty sad when you really think about it. It just, to me, it's Cade Cunningham and AZee. And AZee is what he is. He's probably a number 3 on a great, championship level team, maybe a 4. But what he does is something that is invaluable. And you heard the quote from Kenny Atkinson after the game, where basically like our entire game plan offensively was just keep the ball away from him. Pretty amazing to hear. So to me, it's Duren. You give him a low ball offer. Sounds like the scuttlebutt around the league is like he's got no chance of getting a max. Which if some team gave him a max, good. Like go for it.
Let him go.
It's an idiotic signing. Do it. So it's pretty sad to realize the Pistons are only going to get better just because you really to win these type of games you need that experience, and they have pretty much 0 of it right now.
Right.
It's a bit of a missed opportunity because you have game 7 at home, and then we have the Knicks next round, which I think we all felt pretty comfortable playing. I think we match up pretty well with them, and it just felt like the arrow just let out of the building. They were dead on arrival, not even close. It seems like that happens all the time in game 7s. Or even just in closeout. It seems like every time there's been a closeout game in this playoffs, the team just dies and just rolls over and says, yep, we don't got it tonight. Let's get ready for our postseason plans where we go to Cancun or whatever. That seems like what keeps happening to these teams. I mean, you had Anthony Edwards dapping up the Spurs bench with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Right.
It's happening. So just once I want a closeout game that's actually close and you have that drama, but that was super disappointing. But were any of us really that surprised with how that happened?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I was a little surprised that they got blown out, but to lose the game, not necessarily surprised. Mitchell is a tremendous player. Was he with Utah originally? Is that why did they get rid of him? And
they're kind of bottoming out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, like this is the reality with the Pistons as well. Like the Cavaliers aren't going to win the title this year.
Right.
So if you can't win the title, then it is almost the debate of like, do you want to be the Detroit Lions, who are just pretty damn good, or do you want a team that pushes all the chips in and either tries to win the title or bottoms out? They're kind of in a no man's land, the Cleveland Cavaliers right now with Donovan Mitchell. So I think that's kind of where the Jazz were too, which was just kind of second round exits. So they kind of moved on. Whether it was the right move or not, I think that was the thought behind it, is we're not going to win the title with this as our core. So let's just try to rebuild it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's funny in the NBA and in this series, when you look at it in Game 5, one call at the end of the game could have turned the whole series there. Thompson was definitely fouled, and it is what it is.
Right.
I'm not going to whine about it, but it's if the referees make that call and they win that game, we'd be maybe talking a little different.
Let's talk about that real quick, because a lot of people are saying that. It's not just you. That's like most Pistons fans have said that to me. Do we really want that call to be made? Like basically a bailout call? And let's think about who's going to the line. Asar Thompson. He can't hit water if he fell out of a boat. I don't know if he makes those free throws, even if that call happens. That would have been the lamest call in NBA playoffs history. Yeah, maybe would have helped the Pistons, but I mean, come on. Give me a break. You wanted that call to be made?
100%. And by the way, it's not just the local Piston fans. National broadcasters were all over that as well.
Yeah, would I want a bailout call to end the series? No, but that would be one where if they made the call and you watch the replay, you'd be able to justify saying like, he did get fouled. Whereas all of the fouls that James Harden was getting called for, and even Donovan Mitchell and other guys, when you watch the replay, these weren't fouls. So like, while I'm fine with the no call on Asar Thompson because it was a little like touchy, he even kind of gave Jared Allen a little shove. So people were really breaking down the video, being like, "Well, you could have called a foul on Asar Thompson on that." It's like, okay, cool. So I was fine with the no call, but if they would have called it, it would have been justified. And would you want it to end that way? I mean, if it's a foul, if it's a foul, it's a foul, right? You go to the free throw line, you knock one down, at the game and the series is over. So. Yeah, would he have hit the free throws? I guess that remains to be seen. But I think Asar Thompson, he's 23 years old. You have to think that he will improve a little bit his offense. You don't need him to be a 22, 24 point a night scorer. With his defensive ability, if he could just consistently score 12 to 15, that's a guy you can build a team around when you have a star like Cade, and then hopefully you add another star. That's who you want. You don't want Cade having to guard the other team's best player a whole game, because then that, gasses him out on the offensive end. And that's kind of what was happening, I feel like, because the Cavs had Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Asar was kind of sticking to Donovan Mitchell most of the time, and Cade was having to guard James Harden the whole time. And it seemed like he was running out of gas a lot, in the fourth quarter, because he was having to play that kind of defense the whole game. And, I just think the Pistons are almost there, and they need to make that one big trade, whether it's trading Jalen Duren and some picks. But they're right there. They have the pieces. It's just relying on, and I'm not trying to hate on guys like Tobias Harris and some of their other role players, because they are really good role players. But when these guys are supposed to be like your second best player, your second best scorer, that's where clearly they got exposed. They got exposed this playoff. Tobias had a 8-10 game run where he was scoring 20 plus points. He had a great playoff run until these last 3 games. Dennis Jenkins earned himself that contract. He's going to be on the team next year. He earned himself that playing time. Jalen Duren, though, on the other hand, I don't know what's going to happen with him. He should not get the Supermax. Is he that valuable of a trade piece? I mean, maybe to a team that just needs a big rim protector. But he also kind of got exposed in this because Evan Mobley and Jared Allen were kind of dominating down low. So he wasn't really even like a rim protector. So this, again, he's super young too, 22, 23 years old. So in theory, he's going to improve also. Michael Wilbon and some other guys, and I've seen a bunch of people say this, that most playoff teams, if they go on like a dynasty type of run, they go through like playoff growing pains. I mean, Ted, you remember the Bad Boys Pistons. It took them a good 3-4 years until they got to those back-to-back titles. Even the Chauncey, the going to work Pistons, they went to the playoffs a couple years before they finally got over the hump and won that title. The Warriors, even the Thunder are, the team to beat this year, even though they lost to the Spurs last night. The Thunder lost in the playoffs a couple times before they won the title last year. So you have to think that maybe this is the Pistons. Last year they got to the playoffs and, they came up short against the Knicks. This year they make a little bit of a run. Maybe next year this is where, they make a couple moves this offseason. And kind of like what you said, Jared, this growing, Cade learned from this. Asar learned from this. Maybe saw some areas he has to improve. Maybe this is what we're building on. And next year we'll look back and be like, oh man, that Cavs series actually helped them out. But they need to make some roster improvements for sure because they're not there.
It is a good point. They are going through growing pains and they will be better. The only thing to me that it's like the skeptic in me goes, okay, well those bad boy Pistons are losing to like the legendary Celtics teams, or they're losing to James Harden at 37 years old. That was a mid-off series. I heard somebody describe that was like I don't even think the Cavaliers are that good, and that's kind of what was maybe. And then the Magic, like I don't think the Magic were maybe the worst offensive team I've ever seen with my two eyes in the NBA. Outside of maybe like those 2007 finals scores where like 60 points are scored somehow.
Right.
That's the only thing that's like, man, this is kind of like maybe we're a lot further away than maybe we thought. I don't think the Cavaliers are very good, and they kind of clowned us. So it's pretty disappointing.
Well, it is disappointing, especially when Indiana missing their best player all season long. Tatum came back for the Celtics, but they got knocked off. It's just like when we talked about the Lions. Maybe that was their one opportunity when they lost the 49ers. And now maybe this year the Pistons, I hope I'm wrong because you bring up good points that, they got the experience now in the playoffs. They do have to make some roster moves. I think they got 2.5 players you protect. Durham's on the fence.
Right.
You got to keep Thompson. You got to keep Cade. Everything else is up for grabs. And you got to solidify that roster with a third star player. I think any team in the NBA that goes deep into the playoffs, pretty much 3 deep with really good players. Right. Don't you agree?
And then surrounded by the role players because, the Pistons do have good role players. They, the guys that they bring off the bench can play and really, like Paul Reed, even though, it is kind of funny to think that we were almost like hoping Paul Reed would come in and save the series.
Right.
He was actually coming in and he was that spark plug off the bench. I mean, he was playing really well. And what did I see in that game 7? I mean, the game 7 was a blowout.
He didn't play good in that one.
Yeah, he didn't play good. He only played like 6 or 7 minutes, and Duran was out there like 27 minutes or something like that. So,
what was up with these rotations? The rotations were just bizarre.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. It almost felt like when it was a blowout, why not just throw all the chips out there and say, Duran's giving us something, Paul Reed, go out there and try and do it. Yeah, the rotations were odd. Maybe Bickerstaff was almost doing the same thing. Like, I don't know what to do. Here, you go out there and try.
He's more caught up with the goddamn refs. He never, dude. He's got we talk about Tom Izzo. He's got the Tom Izzo genetic trait of never shutting up and just yelling at the refs nonstop. I can't stand it. Like, it is ridiculous. Dude,
it was crazy. What did we see? It was like the Cavs had like 60 more free throw attempts than the Pistons. Now, did that decide the series? I don't think so. But when you see the numbers, it was like 148 free throw attempts for the Cavs and like 85 or something like that for the Pistons. Like, that's a pretty big difference, over a 7-game series.
It's where pride comes before the fall, where people bitch about the foul baiting, and every team does it. And every good player does the foul baiting and drawing of fouls, except the Pistons. They're above it. They're tough. They're junkyard dogs. They play the game the right way. They're ethical hoopers, as people will tweet when Cade scores a big game. At the end of the day, dude, because your unwillingness to learn this, it's a skill. It is now costing us at the free throw line. There was a few Cade Cunningham, drives to the hoop. I was like, that was probably a foul. They didn't call it. It kind of reminds me of LeBron James when he would have those. He's just so big and strong that you just don't notice the hits as much as you would with a younger, smaller guard like a Donovan Mitchell. But to me, that is where you either get on the train and you're either above it or you join it and you compete with these teams at it. Because when I was watching the games, I never thought there was a lot of blown missed calls, to me at least. And that discrepancy was a great stat they showed. It was kind of insane, but I never thought like, oh, they're getting screwed right now. And then people are pointing to the Asar Thompson foul. Let's not forget the 9-0 run they gave up in a minute to let that even get to that point.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. But James Harden is just a major flopper. I don't care.
That's
what
everybody. I wish I could have done that, man. I don't know. It's kind of
blatant.
impressive how they do it. Like, like I think about the one play in Game 7 where Karis LeVert's just punching him in the gut. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna shoot it. Like, stop punching me in the gut. Like, it kind of is like it makes you look at Karis LeVert like, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Right.
No, you can't do that. So it kind of I can respect it. It's like a Jalen Brunson. We're gonna watch a lot of it in the Eastern Conference Finals. When you are smaller, not nearly as quick as, you have a Sar freaking Thompson guarding you. Yeah, you got to get creative and witty in ways to score and get him out of the game. And I can respect
it is kind of, I think I was watching Get Up before we started recording this morning. And I think I already mentioned him. I think it was Wilbon. He called the Eastern Conference Finals of the JV series versus the Thunder versus the Spurs as the varsity. I don't know if we're going to, but that, double overtime last night. The Spurs upset the Thunder. Wemby, 41 points, 24 rebounds. I mean, he's absolutely insane. It does. I mean, the Cavs Knicks might be a really good series. We don't know, but Thunder Spurs. It seems like that's a championship series. The Thunder versus Spurs.
What an awesome game, Victor Wembanyama, man. He really is. It's like LeBron, where he had so much hype coming in, and he's actually living up to the hype. It's pretty insane. If he wins this series at his age and how he did it, like you said, 41 points, 24 rebounds. He had that all-time three from like Steph Curry range to tie it at 108. It's just insane. This is a little bit of a left turn, but I was thinking about this. The MJ LeBron debate, the NBA, is it better than versus now? There is no Wembanyama's back in the Dream Team era. Think about what the Dream Team was doing to these worldwide teams, like beating them by 70 points. Because it's almost like you compare it to like with the internet coming of age. Now we have the entire world like working in unison to get things done, to create AI, to push technology forward, or even like 200-300 years ago where we wouldn't let women do anything to really help society, and now they're fully a part of society. Where now we've unlocked like half of our population to grow quicker because of what the Dream Team did. Now the NBA is a worldwide sport, or the basketball is a worldwide sport. The league is 10 times better than it was then. And it's going to be 10 times better in 20, 30 years because now we are fully pulling from everywhere across the globe. Whereas in Jordan's day, it was just the USA. And now we're looking at the best players in the NBA aren't from America anymore. They're from overseas. So there's a random thought that I was thinking about as you're watching a guy like Wembanyama just go nuclear. It's like there were none of these guys in Jordan's era. And I love Michael Jordan, but that's just a fact that the NBA isn't what it is. The NBA is 10 times better now than it was back then.
Definitely made a difference for sure, And I don't know about you guys. Every time I see Wemby play and put up numbers like he's doing, and I just get a little bit nauseous in my stomach that he really could have been a Piston. You know what I mean?
Could have been a Piston.
Oh, yeah. That was rigged. 100%. The Pistons were such a dumpster fire. I don't blame Adam Silver for probably saying, no, he ain't going there. No. Like, let's send him somewhere where you got Popovich to offer tutelage and a proven franchise.
Right.
Let's send him.
Popovich and the Tony Parker connection, Tony Parker being from France and, a Spurs legend. Yeah. I mean, the MVP, SGA won the MVP, his second in a row. A US born player hasn't won the MVP since 2018, James Harden.
Wow.
I mean, it's been that long. 2018 now, that's, 8 years ago. It's been Giannis, Jokic, SGA. I mean, it's, Luka's right there. Luka probably will win an MVP at some point. So, it's kind of crazy. Now, still overall, I like the next Summer Olympics, I would still probably favor the U.S., in a series, a tournament like the Olympics, because altogether the U.S. can probably assemble a better team than some of these other countries. But, like Canada is right there. France is right there. Teams like Italy, they're always right there, and Spain. But, it is kind of crazy to see these like unicorn type of players like Jokic and Giannis and Wemby come in, and you just hope they stay healthy. A guy like Giannis, you see that body frame, and I hope he plays a long career and doesn't have some serious injury.
Yep. Well, the Final Four is set. Oklahoma and the Spurs and the Knicks and the Cavs. I think if coming out of the East, I think if it's the Knicks, the way they're playing and the way they're structured, I think they can put up a battle in that NBA championship if they get there. Don't you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, watching that game last night just looked like the Western Conference is on a whole nother level. But
Seems it.
the Pacers took the Thunder to 7 games last year and maybe had a chance to win that before Halliburton got hurt. It really was looking good until Halliburton got hurt. So we'll see. I don't know. Anything can happen, especially like let's say the Spurs advance. You would just think that the Knicks have a little bit more experience, maybe not at the finals level, which they don't, but just a little bit more of a veteran laden squad than the Spurs are. But Spurs are pretty insane. And when you have the best player in the league, and the best player on the floor, both offensively and defensively, that's quite a game changer.
Right.
Well, it's kind of sports potpourri here. We have a Final Four in the NBA, Final Four in the NHL. Just want to touch on it briefly. Vegas taking on Colorado. And I don't know if you saw the game last night. A little bit different than NBA Game 7s. I mean, Game 7 in the NHL is just, you're on the edge of your seat. And we were definitely treated to Montreal and Buffalo. I was really pulling hard for Buffalo in that one, but Montreal got it in overtime, 3-2. But there's nothing like a Game 7 in the NHL. And you can even just be a casual fan and enjoy the intensity of that.
Oh, it's just it's a definition of edge of your seat sports watching, because you're waiting for that winning goal. If it's an overtime or if it's a tie game coming down in the third period, you're just waiting for that goal that sends a team to the next round. And yeah, it's cool to see that the Canadians moved on. Everyone down here, it's funny, like the Hurricanes, they're up in Raleigh, and the Hurricanes have been one of the best franchises. It's like, growing up in Michigan when Detroit was making the playoffs, 30 straight years or whatever they made the playoffs. It's kind of like that down here with the Hurricanes. I mean, people are kind of spoiled, and it's just not really like a big hockey state, but you've got one of the best franchises in your state. I wish they were in Charlotte, because I would try and go to games a little more, but it should be a good series because the Canes they've rolled through the playoffs so far.
Yep.
I probably should tune into it more. I've kind of realized, and this has actually been kind of sad realization since I've been down here. I really don't really care about baseball. Even the Pistons, I was indifferent watching the Pistons. I really didn't even care about them. I'm a football fan. I freaking love the Detroit Lions. I love Michigan football. Those are my teams. Those are my true blue teams I love. And I'm a LeBron James fan. That's about it. And so I just can't wait for football season. And I don't know if you guys saw, obviously, the NFL schedule came out. Really, the only thing to note really on the Lions schedule, one, it's a cakewalk. We already knew that. But two, the Thanksgiving versus the Bears, that's going to be that's a perfect matchup. I'm glad when the Thanksgiving, obviously we liked the Bills matchup a few years ago. That was fun. It should be the Packers or the Bears every year on Thanksgiving, not even the Vikings. Yeah. Packers or Bears, one of those two teams, and let's duke it out. A lot of people, and I think you might be in this boat, Ted, maybe not. I don't want to speak for you. People are complaining, there's now games on Thanksgiving Eve. There's games on New Year's Day. They're they maybe not New Year's
Christmas
Day,
Eve now.
Yeah, they've been taking over every day of the week, basically. I love it. I watch every football game I can. I can't get enough football. Every other sport is wall-to-wall, sports and or wall-to-wall games with NBA, NHL. They play every day of the week. Obviously, the NFL has that special Sunday, tradition, but we're not losing that. In other words, it's just maybe red zone's a little bit less important, and now we can watch a lot more games than we ever could before. Yeah. I'm not saying everybody has to watch these games, and some of them are kind of duds later in the year, but guess what? Even the worst football games, I'm still watching them over just about anything else on TV. So I love that they're expanding more and more each year to more and more days of the week. It is what it is, and I'm a fan of it.
I'll throw my words out there, as you say. I'm all for it too. I mean, I'm not a player. I wouldn't be that thrilled playing some of the short weeks that they have to play, and it is a brutal sport in the amount of games, but heck, more football, the better for me as well. I love it. If you're going to have a Thanksgiving Eve and Christmas Eve and Christmas, bring it on. Gives me something to watch.
I didn't think I'd be the one kind of against it. I mean, yeah, more football, good, but sometimes more of something isn't always good because it does water down the product. And there was some, tradition is something that was special with football, whether it's college football, even all the way down to high school football and the NFL. There was something to it being Friday high school, Saturday college, Sunday, and then the Monday night football game for NFL. And now all these games, it is basically almost every day of the week, because even now there's Black Friday games. Yep. So, I mean, there's almost football games every day of the week, to the point where, if I know you're saying you watch all these games, I would challenge you that if you're going to watch every single one of these NFL games, Thanksgiving Eve, all the Thanksgiving games, Black Friday, Christmas Eve, Christmas, I'm going to say not, because there's just too much football, and it's ruining, I think, especially when you hear, these guys get on their soapbox about player safety and stuff like that. You could throw that out the window. Player safety is not a thing when you have these guys playing short turnaround, tight turnaround games, not coming off a bye, teams having to travel to Australia for a football game and then come back, the Lions having to go to Germany, then play a game, and then play a Thanksgiving Day game. Like, this isn't about player safety anymore. This is about money. We all know that. It's about the streaming platforms getting rights to these games so they can put it on Amazon Prime and Netflix and Apple TV eventually. It's all about money. And to me, I have an issue with the games being every day of the week. It changes fandom, because people that work, during the week, people that have other things going on, it makes it tough to watch these games all the time. And, there was something to knowing you had Sunday to watch NFL, Monday, Thursday night. Yeah, we're used to Thursday night games now. I mean, that's been around for a while, but I think they can do too much with it. And I think with that conversation is going to college, going to a 2014 playoff is going to do the same thing that the NFL is doing. It's going to ruin the tradition of some of these matchups and rivalries.
You're exactly right. Player safety they could give two shits less. The NFL is the only franchise, and I give Roger Goodell credit for this. It reminds me of the Savannah Bananas, where they're doing pop-up games and free tickets. They are doing stuff for the fans. It is all about the fan. It's for the fans. We have fans in Australia. Let's send a game to them. We have fans in Germany. Let's give them a game. The college football, it's just entirely money. The 24-team playoff, no fan is asking for that. No fan in the wide world is asking for that 24-team playoff, and they're still going to do it. That is where it is true. I 100% get the pushback, and you're right. I can't watch every game. I like the idea that if I had a normal 9-to-5 job, I could watch every game if I wanted to. For the most part, obviously not every job or not every game, but and I don't want to watch every game. Like, some of them are that bad of games that maybe I'm not going to tune into them, but. To me, the NFL does it right, where, I do wish maybe we should probably add a bye weekend. We should probably, not have guys going to Australia. I can draw the line there. That's kind of insane. The San Francisco 49ers travel schedule is insane this year. But at least I can sleep at night knowing Roger Goodell and the NFL, really the only league that does it still. Even the UFC, man, the UFC won't make the best fights because of money. The NFL, to me, is making so much money that they're like, let's give stuff back to the fans. Let's do it for the fans. And I can appreciate that.
That's fair.
Back to their schedule for a moment. You said it was an easy schedule, and it is set up to be that way. It's kind of neat that they have 6 standalone national televised game, but I look at the schedule, and week 17 and 18 worry me a little bit. 2 games back-to-back on the road in conference, at Chicago in the winter, at Green Bay in the winter. Let's hope that they can pile up some wins throughout the season, so those last couple of weeks don't become the factor of where they're at in making the playoffs.
We played the Bears the last game of the year this year, and it just didn't matter. Yeah, because we beat them, right? And it just didn't matter.
True.
And remember down the stretch, man, just get to that Bears game and have it mean something. It'd be an awesome game.
Right.
Hopefully we're not going to be in that same boat. The schedule is so bad this year, unless catastrophic injuries strike, knock on wood.
Yeah.
We're going to be in the playoffs. But those games could be for all the marbles, and I'm with you. They sound like a death march, especially the Chicago one on the road. Probably going to be is that a night game?
4:25 right now on Fox.
So it'll be nighttime in the second half and cold.
Yep.
But doesn't it get your blood boiling? That's going to be an awesome game, and I can't.
Well, and then a couple weeks before that is on the road at Minnesota. So three of the last 4 games of the year are on the road versus division opponents. So easy, quote unquote, but you better have the division all but wrapped up, or at least the playoffs all but wrapped up before those last 4 weeks. I mean, that's tough. That's a tough way to finish the schedule.
I'm excited to see what the Vikings do with JJ versus Kyler. I don't know. None of us love that they signed Kyler. Like, even let's say that he doesn't start, then that means that JJ really is taking a step forward this year. But I'm just excited to see what they do. I think that's a fun storyline, and this division has 4 good teams. I would say for the first time, maybe in a long time, where every team I could see making the playoffs. So it's going to be. You don't wish away summer, especially where especially where you're at, Ted. Where the weather is going to be great right about now.
It is,
but I'm kind of wishing away summer where I'm at. It's scorching hot. Let's get to football season, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to wonder what team in the North is going to have that fall off. The Lions were kind of dominating for a couple of years, and then last year, completely fell off, and the Bears kind of leaped ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's going to do that. They all can't make the playoffs. So, you have to wonder, like, are the Packers are just steady. Are they're always going to make the playoffs? Are the Vikings, like you said, Jared, is the Kyler JJ thing going to really get them back? Are the Lions going to put it together? I don't have a whole lot of hope for the Lions.
The one hope I have for the Packers is, man, that Bears game was such a blunder in the playoffs, and LaFleur, like it almost seemed like it might have mentally broke him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that's like, man, maybe if things start a little sour for the Packers, and I know Micah Parsons is probably going to start this season as well.
Oh,
maybe they somewhat implode, and then the Vikings, although we like the Kyler signing, I think there's still a lot of question marks at quarterback. So
yeah.
I hope it's not the Lions. Then I don't know, Ted. What happens, man? Or do you just cancel all your TV? Like, is the Super Bowl trip going to happen this year? Are you getting that scheduled, or are you getting that ready?
No. Here's what I've decided to do. Since it's in LA, at SoFi, there's plenty of hotel rooms in the LA area. So even if I have to stay, 30 minutes away from the stadium, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm not going to book that trip. And by the way, I'm trying to book a trip this winter to Hawaii. So to try to do both, it's going to be kind of difficult.
I mean, you got to fly through LA to get to Hawaii.
Well, you know what's funny, man? I've looked into it. I actually looked into flying out there the weekend of the Super Bowl and then going to Hawaii from there. That's on the table. But I think I'm going to hold off on the Hawaii trip till March. And so if the Lions do happen to make LA, it'll just be spur of the moment thing. Maybe see if I can get a flight to Vegas, reasonable out of Flint, and then just take it from there.
Do you think your booking of the Super Bowl tickets is basically maybe been bad juju on the Lions?
Maybe, especially the 49er one, man. It was all but there, right?
Yeah. How long? We know since 57 #since 57. But how long have you been doing the booking a Super Bowl trip?
Vegas was the first one, so
like 5 years or
3 years.
Okay.
Well, the one where they were in New Orleans, I had booked that one.
Oh, right.
I flat out canceled it after the Lions blew the playoffs in that season, and just took a Florida vacation instead.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm always excited, optimistic about the Lions. The big factor we always talk about is injuries. I think roster wise they're pretty good. The defense remains to be seen. I hope Anzalone's exit doesn't hurt them on the leadership level,
That's a big piece.
It is.
He
is.
was the green. What do they say? Well, he wasn't the green dot. Jack Campbell is, but Anzalone was a leader over there. It's the secondary. Yeah. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, whatever the heck is going on there.
Big question mark.
I think that's a big question mark.
Is Brandt? I can't imagine he's back week 1. Is he?
No, he's not back week 1. But they're saying he's gonna be healthy, like his surgery and rehab.
That was the bummer. Right. That was on Christmas Day. No, that was versus the Cowboys. We had one positive note last year, and he got hurt like right at the end of that game.
Right at the end.
Man, I almost would rather just lost this game and canned this season than lose him for next year. So we'll see. I did like their schedule. Like this whole schedule release has become this big thing. I think they read the room correctly. Like, let's not do a big, Halo release. Let's just keep it simple,
low key,
and let's give the idea that we're just back to work and like we're here to prove something. So I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be fun. We start the season against the Saints, right?
Yeah.
Shuck and they decided to sign Jordan Tyson. I think they're a little bit underrated. So we'll see. But
it could go one of two ways. Like we keep talking about an easy schedule. Like you said, a lot of people are picking the Saints to be that kind of up and coming team in the NFC. And then you go to Buffalo where they open their brand new stadium. And that's going to be an absolutely insane environment up there. So it very well could be a rough start for the Lions. But no, optimism. No, Lions. got to stay hopeful.
You got to protect home turf. You got to beat the Saints at home. You're probably going to lose the Bills in their opener, and then you got to beat the Jets, at home. So go 2-1 to start the season. You're off and rolling.
Good. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's. I got one final thing nationally. I don't know what your thoughts are, Jared. You're the kind of the resident golf guy. PGA thoughts on
I forgot about that.
The guy winning it, his first tournament win ever.
Yeah. Before you jump in, Jared, the cool story is, or one of the cool stories is. That you notice he wears 2 gloves and when he drives, and he puts his irons, he uses iron covers. And Jared, I mean, as Ted always says, the golf guy of the trio, iron covers and 2 gloves in golf are like the 2 things that you do not do. And like I used to always have iron covers because like I bought some, they weren't like super nice. I bought some decent irons back when I used to play a lot. So I put iron covers on. My buddies used to always like just razz me for it and be like, dude, you got to take those off. We don't want to play with someone with iron covers. But the story is that, he won the PGA Championship. I'm sure you guys saw it. The story is that he grew up, not well off, and his dad worked really hard and worked multiple jobs and everything and bought him clubs and paid for his lessons. And, for him to play golf, he basically put all of his money into his son being able to play golf. So, he put iron covers on his irons to protect his clubs. His dad would clean his irons after every round, and he wore the 2 gloves because of where he grew up in England. It was cold, so he'd wear 2 gloves, to keep his hands warm while he was playing, while he was growing up. So it's like a sentimental thing, and it's like an homage to his dad paying for his lessons and his clubs and stuff growing up. So I think that's really cool. See him out there with 2 gloves on the tee box driving, and then the iron covers. That's a cool story.
It is.
Yeah, it's he seems like a great guy, and that's where it's like I was thinking to myself, like, why? Like as he was going down the stretch, I just wanted him to implode so badly. And then you learn a little bit more about him, and he just seems like a great guy. And it makes me wonder, why do we always root for these like assholes? I mean, Bryson DeChambeau has spent I'm pretty sure he hired a PR team to try to prove to everybody that he's not a jerk, and it's like it's kind of blown up in his face. Then you got Rory McIlroy, who is getting a guy booted for chanting USA at him every chunks a shot into the bunker. Like, and then all these other these pros who are, when they play horrible on Thursday and Friday, the course setup is horrible. This is like they did a horrible job. Then when they're playing well on Saturday, it's great, great. These guys are such jerks, man. And I feel for like a Rory where you watch these broadcasts, and I saw somebody tweet it out perfectly. Would you rather have a OnlyFans daughter or a guy who is yelling stuff at these pros during a round? Like a son who is yelling stuff at these pros during the round. It is the dumbest stuff you've ever heard. Even the positive stuff. Like, who was it? Is like Xander Schauffele had like some save, and as he's walking through the ropes the next hole, great save, Xander. That was a great chip. Like, who? Like, shut up. Like, it would drive. Like, I was just thinking about it. Everybody you walk by is saying something to you, and it's the dumbest. They're all drunk, they're all idiots, and they think they're so clever, and it's something these guys have heard a zillion times. So a part of me is like, you know what, boot this USA guy. These guys don't shut up, boot him. But then on the second hand, it's like, dude, you hit a bad shot, and this guy just spiked your cortisol levels, and it ticked you off. One other thing about the PGA, and CBS was blowing this out of proportion, the Philly fan thing. Like, they have guys reading teases, the Eagles, Big Dom security guard. That guy, I've seen that guy so much. I'm sick of that freaking guy. They were blowing it out of proportion how awesome the Philly fans are. And I mean, I'm reading these teases that they're writing. Oh, if you're a winner and you're a champion and you play hard, these guys they'll root you on forever. It's, dude, this is the same fan base that just got overwhelmed in their own stadium by the New York Knicks fans. Like, they literally, the entire, like, Tyrese Maxey after the game is saying how embarrassing that was, that the Knicks had more fans in their own arena than the Sixers did. This is not like enough of this. Philly fans are one of a kind. All these fan bases are the same. We've seen it with the Lions. Like, when you're winning, everybody's there. Everybody's rooting you on. When you're losing, they don't care. The Philly fans are not this special breed of, just working middle class guys. They're just like any other fan base, just like Detroit fans. They're just like, they're not like the Knicks fans, apparently. They don't respect winners. They're just like any other fan base. They were blowing that out of proportion. And then you look at the grandstands and they're half empty. It's like, they're not even showing up for this goddamn event. So I don't know. Those are my 2 thoughts, more so just fan thoughts. these guys are they're everywhere. They never shut up. And we were like treating these fans like they were gods. They are weirdos. I went to the NFL draft. This is when I realized I had to get the hell out. Literally stuck at a bus stop outside of Nemo's, like trying to get to the NFL draft. Literally impossible. And sits next to me is this guy. He's at every NFL draft. They show him every draft. Eagles fan, spiked shoulder pads, face paint. I'm with the group of guys who are just like, my friends are like fantasy football nerds. They will chop it up with these type of freaks all day. And I'm like listening to this conversation about God knows what. I'm like, dude, I just got to get the hell out of here. These are just weirdos. And so I left. That's where we're at with Philly fans, man. They are no different than any other weirdo fan base. Stop putting them on this pedestal because they threw snowballs at Santa Claus in 1960 or whatever the stupid story is. They were horrible this weekend. They didn't even fill the stands. And we had a stacked leaderboard going into Sunday. Obviously, it disappointed, but enough of them. They suck. They just got shown up in their own stadium. They aren't that elite of a fan base.
So you don't like Philadelphia fans, you're saying?
I don't care. They're just normal fans. I don't like that we treat them like they're so amazing of fans. Like they're just regular people. They're not built differently. They got shown up in their own stadium. Even that doesn't happen to the freaking Pistons. Even when an owner is buying 25 bus full of people, that doesn't happen to the freaking Detroit Pistons. So you lose that moniker when that happens.
Fair enough. The final thought I have on the PGA and the finish, it's disappointing when it's sealed way early, with the winner. And I had to chuckle a little bit listening to Jim Nantz, who is the best, but he was going deep in his notes down the stretch, throwing out factoids, man. You can tell he was getting his research that he'd done all into the broadcast. There was nothing else to talk about.
That's the one thing with golf. If the winner, makes their last putt and there's still like 6 guys out there still playing, it
exactly
kind of kills the moment a little bit, but they always do a good job of still broadcasting and making it feel big.
Yep.
These, I was spoiled. The first, big major I remember watching was Bubba Watson 2010 at the Masters. That's probably the first like full Sunday I watched. And that was just an all-time playoff, miraculous hero shot. It feels like these majors, man, they almost seem to always disappoint. I don't even remember. Bryson had a great
Rory Masters last year was pretty good.
Yeah, it's true. That was a playoff. You're right. I'll say this. Outside of the Masters, it seems like these always freaking disappoint, man. And you're right. That was a playoff, and you had the famous Rory moment, but just seems like we've been on a long stretch where we're heading into Sunday, and there's a lot of potential, and then a guy just pulls away, and it's over. I don't know.
All right. Well, that kind of wraps up this portion. Let's take a break, come back with probably one of our final prep spotlights as the high school season is winding down. We'll be right back right after this. All right, guys, it is time for the Prep Spotlight presented by the Jacobs Insurance Agency. As we always say, local, independent, and trusted. And, we've been talking a lot about Owasso and their dominance in track and field, and we're going to keep it right there as they at Frankenmuth in the regionals. Owasso sophomore Eli Worthington continued his streak, taking first in the shot put and the discus. Corunna had 3 champions, Isaac Jacobs in the 200, Brandon Hartsuff in the 110 hurdles, and Logan Herrick in the 300 hurdles. In the girls competition, Owasso's Gabby Huff-Nichols had a heck of a year. She qualified for the states in 4 events. The senior won the 110 hurdles, the 300 hurdles, and in addition, she ran anchor on the 800 relay team and the 3rd place 400 relay team. So Owasso doing very well in track and field, and their pole vaulter, Kaylee Slingerland, also captured first place, going 11 foot in the pole vault. That's pretty high for a girl, man. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Pole vault is just insane, man. I can't believe anybody goes up that high. Petrify me.
Takes a lot of strength, man, to get up there that high. So good job there. Our 3-point podcast prep spotlight performance of the week. Well, we're going to keep it right here in the Jacobs world. Congratulations to Owasso girls track coach Noah Jacobs, who was recently named Flint Metro League Star Division Coach of the Year. Noah was named head coach a couple of years ago and has really built the program to win championships, including this year's conference crown. I mean, we know and love Noah. He was an early guest on the 3-point podcast. I think around our 3rd or 4th episode, we had him in studio. He had a heck of a track career at Corunna, went on to run for the University of Wisconsin, and congrats to him, man. You can tell, he's your age group, Jared. He relates to the kids. He's a good motivator. He's obviously done the work. So good job for Noah.
Yeah, zero surprise that he's a great track coach. I could have told you that before he even got hired, that he'd do a great job. So I would guess there's going to be more of those conference, as long as he's coaching there at Owasso. There's going to be more of those conference championships to come, and better and better. Exactly what you said. Relates to the kids. Obviously knows his stuff when it comes to track and all that. I mean, dedicated his life to it in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, no surprise that he's doing a great job. It's cool to see.
Also, we don't want to shortchange their boys head coach, Aaron Gillette. He was also named the Flint Metro League Coach of the Year. So the Trojans, we're Cavaliers at heart, but we got to congratulate Owasso's athletes and coaches when they do well, and they're doing real well this spring. Dominant in track, and they got probably the premier baseball team going this spring too. So way to go, Owasso. That's the Prep Spotlight presented by the Jacobs Insurance Agency. I got one comment in the world of entertainment. We won't have to do a whole entertainment segment, but did you guys see SNL, the season finale, or any of the clips from Friday or from Saturday night this last week?
Was it Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell and Paul McCartney. And, I really hesitate to say this about Paul McCartney, but if you watch his songs that he sang, and I mean, the dude's a legend, the dude's an all-timer, all praise to Paul McCartney, but man, sometimes maybe you shouldn't go out there and sing at 83 years old, because it was really, really painful to watch. I mean, God bless him. He was out there.
Right.
He's a legend, but man, if you watch his performance, it was kind of cringy.
Yeah, I don't get it. I didn't, and that's kind of surprising. I didn't see any clips from that. The only clips I've seen from SNL was Matt Damon did like auctioneer.
Classic.
Which was pretty funny. But no, you're right. I like Will Ferrell, but I feel like it probably wasn't a very good episode when it doesn't hit your social media timelines. Yeah. I saw nothing from it.
It had one pretty good skit where he played a surgeon, and he's talking to Mikey Day, who's laying in the hospital bed, and he says, "Hey, your gallbladder surgery went well, but got some bad news though. Made a little mistake and took your penis as well."
That's probably pretty funny.
It was a pretty good skit.
Yeah, Will Ferrell's one of those. I like him. Not everyone likes Will Ferrell's comedy or his movies. I feel like I grew up in the prime of Will Ferrell's movie career, so I like Will Ferrell, but he's like set the bar so high that like when you see him on SNL, especially for SNL, it's almost like you expect like these. Like Jared kind of said, these viral skits that are all over social media, and you just can't do that every time. Like that's pretty hard to pull off every time. So that sounds like one I'll have to look up.
Yeah, check it out. He's promoting, I guess, a movie's coming out this summer where he's a golf pro. That looks kind of interesting.
Dude, it looks like literally a rip off of whatever the hell Owen Wilson's show was.
Yeah, maybe
it looks cringy. But then I sent it to my buddies, and they're like, it looks like good for a few laughs. So I did love Daddy's Home too, and Daddy's Home. I like both those movies, which is the same type of slapstick kind of dumb comedy. But I don't know what's the deal with these golf shows lately.
Is that on Netflix? I saw the promo.
I thought it was going to be a theatrical release.
Maybe
a theater
not. Release.
I thought.
I think it's a TV show. I thought is it a movie? I couldn't tell you.
We're dropping the ball on this.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
I didn't investigate that deep enough. I shouldn't have commented.
No, it's a series. The Hawk.
Okay, all right.
The Hawk is a series with Harper Steele, and it's on Netflix.
Gotcha.
Molly Shannon.
Okay, so, it'll be a Netflix thing then. It'll be what it is. A couple other quick ones before we sign off, guys. I know you're not late night show watchers, but Stephen Colbert wrapping up his run on CBS. Controversial because all these late night guys are into political commentary, which I think really has hurt the franchise. But Colbert was good, man. He filled in, took over for David Letterman, and had a good run. But this is his final week, so I'll be checking out his show this week, see some of the surprises. I know Jon Stewart will be a guest coming up, so it should be interesting to watch. And then also, again, late night TV maybe has passed us by. And we've talked about it a few weeks ago with Brian from Sonic Detroit. What is the status of radio nowadays? With all different sources on the internet that you can get your news. CBS News Radio is shutting down after almost 100 years of broadcasting. I mean, the network that had Edward J. Morrow in World War II broadcasting deep from England and all that. But, looks like there's been a major shift in radio. And we talked about maybe local stuff is good on the radio, like Z92.5, where we carry local events and sports. But to see a mega monster like CBS News Radio just complete shut down, it's the sign of the times, right?
Sign of the times. And yeah, I would just be curious, do they not have the support like on a streaming platform? I would just be curious why shutting down altogether. You know, sometimes you'll see like a newspaper go to just digital or, you know, something like that because people aren't buying newspapers or something. So I'd be curious why complete shutdown.
Not making any money is what my guess is.
Here's probably why. I am 27 years old. I have no idea what that is.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
Yeah. And you get your news what? On Twitter, Instagram, whatever.
Like I said, and even just like sports entertainment, it's podcasts. That's where I get that from.
Right.
Outside of actually watching the games, sports podcasts is where you get that. So I just think like to say radio is gone is it's just different. It's podcasts.
Right.
Podcasts are basically radio.
But I guess that's kind of what I mean. Like why they're shutting down completely, why they can't shift to a podcast. Why there's not a shift to just like a digital show, you know, something like that. I mean, obviously, they're not making any money. That's why they're shutting down. But it's crazy.
Yeah, well, the nostalgia in me, and you know, I'm a radio guy. I hate to see it happen, but that's the way it goes. So,
I mean, like think about your Z92.5. Like, it's great that you guys post the replay right after that. You guys get a lot of reviews on that.
We do.
That's adapting. If you guys were still just doing the show and like, you know, obviously people do listen to it live on Friday nights too, but that's where you get a lot of your listenership is the podcast form. So that's where it's both sides. Smart people are doing that. That's why it's stupid they haven't done that at CBS.
Yeah, but I'm glad we shifted into the podcast world ourselves since 2017. So we've been sticking with it, 409 episodes, and we have some great partners. They include Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Make sure you follow the Wellness Center on Facebook. Great spot to go get in shape for sure. Also, want to thank AZee Branding Agency, ALS of Michigan, Blackstone's Public House, Great Lakes Apparel Company, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori and Associates Real Estate Services, Mars Furniture and Mattress Barn, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Nichols Painting, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Shiawassee County Fair. As always, peace and love, everybody. Be kind out there, and thank you for listening.